Hey boss, look, listen, I understand that you want to step up this whole content game and this cinematic lighting script and video is for that, I understand that, but maybe for this time, and this time only, we can change the subject to something else, to maybe like a camera review, a lens review. People love them, people love reviews, right? Well, maybe not a review, but here is a problem. Lighting involves actual electricity, and me and electricity, we got this mutual agreement not to mess with each other. It's like a truce. I'm not trying to zap myself, it's not trying to set my hair on fire. It's a pretty good one, I would say. Like, remember the time when I tried to use a toaster and I short-circuited half of the building? Yeah, right. It wasn't entirely my fault, maybe only partially. Or how about the fact that we now have a coffee machine that cannot be touched without rubber gloves? Yes, sorry about that. The point being is that me and electricity, we're not friends anymore. So maybe we can change the subject to maybe something else, right? Please? I guess this is a no, right? Yeah, as usual. Anyways, who needs eyebrows? Thank you for the talk, boss. Really, really productive one. Yeah, I'll proceed to making the video. Yeah, thank you. So, since my boss, which is also my cat, made me make this video, we're going to try to figure this out together. And I'm not going to give you a step-by-step process, a blueprint on how to light any particular scene, how to light any particular portion of the video or for a particular genre. You're going to figure this out on your own. And this whole lighting, especially cinematic lighting, it is only about trying, making errors, understanding the principles, understanding the thing that you're going to use in your future projects. I'm not capable of giving you just a step-by-step process. Nobody can. That's why lighting is quite difficult. I'm going to give you the basic idea, the basic understanding of this whole process, understanding of the lighting itself. And then once you understand this, you're going to make any scene possible by trying and experimenting with it. And we're going to start using the most used to light source that we have, it is our sun. We're going to use it to understand certain principles of any light source, no matter what you use. And we're going to start with hard lighting versus soft lighting. If you go outside on a beautiful sunny day without any clouds, you're going to notice that the shadows are very hard, very defined, very detailed. That lighting is called hard lighting, and you might also know that people prefer to light people with soft lighting, because hard lighting, it makes things very harsh, not very appealing to human eye. So how do we get soft lighting from hard lighting, and what actually affects what we're going to end up with? In the beginning, I had really some troubles understanding what's going on, because people would take very hard lighting, shine it through a sheet of diffusion, and then they would end up with a very soft lighting. And I didn't understand it first. Nothing really changed. The photons didn't change, the light source didn't change. What changed that gives us this soft lighting? And it turns out that the only factor, the only thing that determines whether the light is going to be soft or hard is the size of the light source. And that size thing comes with a little catch, because the size thing is relative to the subject, and I'm going to explain that. The size of the light source. The sun that I was talking before is very big, incredibly huge, but it is very, very far away from us, and it appears in our sky like a tiny light source. That's why we end up with hard lighting and hard shadows. On the other hand, this light source, my softbox, is tiny compared to the sun and compared to any light source for that matter. It is tiny, it is very small, but it is very close to me. And that's why we end up with a very soft lighting. So the only thing that determines whether the light is going to be soft or hard is the size of the light source. But the size is relative to the subject that you're going to use this light source to light. This is very important to understand. So people who used very hard lighting and shine it through sheet of diffusion. What they do basically is create a bigger light source, and those are secondary light source, secondary photons, it doesn't really matter, but what they end up with is a very, very huge light source relatively to the subject, and that's why the lighting is incredibly soft. So this is the first principle that we need to understand before moving forward. Now, another very important parameter is the color temperature, and I know it is a basic parameter, I know that many people know it, but I need to speak about it nonetheless. So, what is a color temperature? Basically, we take a perfectly black body, which I do not think really exists in this world, but nonetheless, we take a perfectly black body and start heating it up to various temperatures, and this temperature is measured in Kelvin, not Celsius, not Fahrenheit, but Kelvin. I hope you didn't skip physics lessons. Right. Once you reach about 3000 Kelvin, you're going to receive orangey light like this one. Once you reach 5000, it's going to appear neutral, and 7, 8, 10, 12,000 is going to appear bluish, like in the background. It is set to 7000. Right. The same parameter you're going to find in your camera. It's called color temperature, and it is there for you to explain to your camera what the camera is going to see as neutral. If I set it right now to 3200 Kelvin, this light is going to appear neutral, and that one is going to become even more bluish. Why do you need to understand all of that? Because if you film in RAW, for example, you can change that parameter after the fact. You just can, in your editing software, change the color temperature and everything is fine. You do not need to think about that beforehand. The problems start to appear once you try to mix different light sources with different color temperatures within one scene, like in here, for example. This is 3200 Kelvin, this is 7000. I'm trying to mimic a moonlight in here. It's not correct. Moonlight is supposed to be hard. It is a soft light, and it's supposed to be near the window. It is not in there. It doesn't really matter. I'm trying to make my point. It doesn't matter. But you need to understand, if you put something in here like 5000 degrees Kelvin and in the background 4000, no matter what you do, no matter what kind of color grading wizard you are, you're not going to receive a cooler color in the background compared to this one. And if you put a 32 degrees Kelvin light in here and then next to me to lift up the shadows to make my face appear better, looking better, put a light source of 5600 Kelvin, a neutral one, and in the background 7000, you're not going to explain your viewer what the hell is happening, why the face is neutral, because we've got only two lights in here. You need to explain it somehow. So you need to think about that beforehand. And for example, right now my camera is set to 5600 Kelvin. I've got no light source that is 5600 Kelvin in here. Why do I do that? Because I want this light to appear warm. I want that light to appear cool. I need to set my camera to something in between. It is a very basic, a very simple parameter that everyone knows. Photographer, videographer, everyone knows. But once you start filming something complicated with 10, 12, 15 light sources, all of them should be set to different color temperatures, and you need to decide what color temperature, what effect you are trying to get. And if you have 5 light sources that are doing the same thing, they have to be set to the same color temperature. If you have something in the background that is supposed to contrast to the light that is your main, you need to determine what that light is going to be. If it is a warm light, why it is a warm light? Why is it? Is it a candlelight? Is it a moonlight? Is it a sunlight? You need to think about that before you hit record, because once you hit record, the difference between these lights is 3800 Kelvin, and no matter what I do, the difference is going to remain the same. I can shift this scene to a cooler light, to a cooler tone. I can shift this scene to a warmer tone, but the difference between those lights is going to remain constant. You need to think about that. You're not going to be able to fix that after the fact. So this is the important factor, important parameter number 2. Let's move to the factor or to parameter or to characteristic, doesn't matter. To number 3. The lighting that you're witnessing right now is bad on purpose, because I'm talking about CRI right now, Color Rendering Index. What is it and why do you need to care about it? You see the light that is coming, for example, from our sun. It is not just a uniform creature or one beam. It is a combination of different wavelengths, different colors. You probably remember this from your physics experiment in school. When you shine a light through a glass pyramid, you're going to end up with different lights of different colors. And all of those should be present in a light equally. And if one color is lacking, you're going to end up with an unexpected result. Let's imagine that the light that I'm using right now, it is a pretty cheap light, not intended for filmmaking, and that it is lacking in red, for example. It's going to hit my face and some of that light, primarily red, because I've got blood under my skin and the skin is reddish, is going to be reflected and returned to the camera's sensor and absorbed by it, creating an image. But the image is going to be a little bit off because there is not enough red in that source of lighting. And no matter what you do in terms of color grading, you're not going to restore that natural skin color. So how do you fix this? The only fixing that you need to be doing is to purchase a light with a high CRI value, higher than 95. It's going to guarantee you that the light is full, that it's got full colors, and everything that is returned, that is absorbed, is going to look natural, and skin is going to look natural, fruits and product photography, anything that you do, it's going to look natural. If you do not use a light like that, or if you use a practical light that was supposed to be in the background and you use it to shine on the actor, you will be disappointed in the end, because you're going to end up with an image that is looking off. And it's probably okay if it is a mediocre YouTube video, but if it is a high-end production, you're going to get in trouble. So think about that, what kind of light you're using for what kind of light you can put in the background, and what kind of light you need to be using to shine on the actor, because it is a very important thing. This is the point number 3. Let's move to the point number 4. Okay, enough of changing angles, changing lighting, and we're going to go through the next points a little bit quicker than before. And the next one is light intensity. It is very important, and the thing that I did wrong a lot when I started doing all of that. What am I talking about? You have light in the background, you have your key light, you have your backlight, you have your rim light, you have all of these lights, and all of these lights are supposed to correlate with one another. In intensity, of course. So if you've got your key light too bright, and after the color grading process everything has become dark except for you, you've got a problem. If you have too bright of a background light and everything is overpowered by this light, and all that you can see is your background but not you, you've got a problem if this wasn't your intent to begin with. Why is it so difficult sometimes to control the intensity of lighting? You see, we now tend to film everything in log, and sometimes people monitor what they are filming, again, in log. And in log it is really difficult to understand what the hell you are doing, especially with lighting. There are, of course, a couple of solutions. First, you can use false colors. Second, you can use a LUT on your monitor that is going to show you how the image is actually looking. And yeah, you need to do that in order to control the intensity of lighting, because again, it's not going to be fixable later in post, because the difference between the intensity of the lighting is going to remain constant. You can use power windows and try to correct this and that, but again, do not do this mistake. Do not mess this up to begin with. Do this correctly the first time. Do this correctly on set, and then your life will be much easier. Trust me. The next thing is the thing that you probably are already familiar with. It's called volumetric lighting. Basically, it is fog or dust, the thing that is going to make your light rays visible. It's making everything so delicious, so cinematic, and it is so overused nowadays. You see people throw the fog in the background for no apparent reason, and if you do that in your feature film without explaining what the hell is happening here and how the fog came to be here in this scene, it's not great. Trust me, it's not great. It's looking great, but it makes no sense whatsoever. And sometimes people overdo it. And when I say sometimes, I mean quite often. Because once you overdo the amount of fog, the image becomes mushy. It becomes... the feeling comes to you like the image is losing its resolution. And the idea of filming in 4K, 6K is starting to lose sense pretty quickly. So do not overdo it. Think beforehand. Again, before you start shooting, think, do you really need that fog? Do you really need that much fog? You probably do not. So if you cannot justify the fog, if you cannot control the amount of fog, simply do not use it. The image is great. I'm not arguing with you. The image is great. It is almost perfect, but it is supposed to be justifiable and not overdone. And it is really difficult to do. Yeah, especially if you've got no experience with it. The next point is probably the most important here, and probably that I didn't do right most of the time, but it is called light control. You see, the first I thought, I've got this really fancy light, I would stick it onto a stand or whatever, put it where I need it to be, and it's going to do great, but it is actually not. Here I've got a tube light that I mounted on this stand and everything is great, but unless I put some sort of constraint, some sort of blocking on that light, it's not going to look great. It's going to bounce all over the place. It's going to bounce against this wall, against the ceiling, against that wall. It's going to pollute the whole scene with lighting. And it's not great. Everything is going to look amateurish. Everything is going to look not as it's supposed to look. I truly believe that the difference between amateurish looking shot, a poorly lit shot, and a really, really great shot, like cinema great shot, is in light control. You need to learn, you need to use flex, grids, some DIY stuff. It's not supposed to be professional. You just need to learn how to control lighting. You need to understand where you want this light to be, how this light is supposed to be there, in what form, shape, and how much you want to constrain that light, how much you want to control that light. You need to understand, imagine all of that before you start shooting, not before. It is a mistake that I said before, not before, but during, because you need to experiment with that. You need to try this, you need to try that, and see what's working and what's not. But every light, especially in tight spaces, is supposed to be controlled. It's not supposed to be just turn it on and just leave it there. It's going to do its job. For practical, yes, probably it is, but you need to control every other light, to put some thought into it, and then it's going to look great, but not before, unfortunately. And let's move to the last point, which is not about lighting, but kinda it is. The next point, which is probably my favorite, is about color grading. I'm really into color grading. I've gone through a professional course that I graduated about color grading. I love spending time doing color grading. I love all of that. And if you want, I can film a couple of videos explaining how to do this and that. But basically my point is that every piece of content, every movie, every short film, feature film, music film, YouTube video, everything has to be color graded to some extent. Because everything you put in before, your wardrobe, your lighting, your actors, the room itself, everything is a setup. The major part of the image, like 80%, 90% of the image, of course, is lighting, actors, and so on and so forth. But that additional 10% is reached through color grading. Color grading can turn a good shot into a great one. But unfortunately, it cannot turn a bad shot into a great one, or even a good one. So, of course, you need to do the things that I was talking before. But this last part is equally as important as all of those before. You need to understand how color grading works, you need to understand how to enhance the image that you already imagined, that you already tried to build on set, how to enhance it, how to reach that final point, that destination through color grading. So listen to this advice, spend some time investing your effort into color grading. It's going to be really vital and important later on if you're interested in feature narrative type of shooting. Is going to be really important. Or just find a person that already can do that and pay him. Do not try to save money during this part. It is really important to get color grading as best as you can. And then you going to end up with an image that you imagined, with an image that you really wanted, a cinematic one. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you, I hope, really soon. I hope this was quite helpful, or at least a little bit entertaining. I'll see you. Goodbye.